What is going on, IVE Warriors? It's your boy Edward V, and today we're going to talk about a beginner strat or beginners intermittent fasting for beginners. Just a few pointers. There are some things that over time with studies and research have been amended in terms of what is the best thing to do when you are first starting intermittent fasting. And I'm gonna go ahead and break that down in this video. Stay tuned. All right, guys, quickly before we start, this video is sponsored by, hands down, my favorite sponsor, Built Bar. Now, I don't have to keep reiterating how important protein is, but it is important. Protein turns into amino acids, and those are the building blocks for your muscle. Keep in mind, muscle retention, muscle preservation, and muscle growth help drive your metabolic rate so that when you are burning fat, when you are cutting weight, it is important that you help preserve your muscles. And the best way to do that is to ensure that you get your daily protein needs, which, newsflash, is not as easy as you think to pull off unless you have something like a protein bar that you can grab at any moment to add those additional proteins that you need for the day. And the coolest thing, the absolute coolest thing about Built Bar is that it actually tastes good. I know what you're thinking, that there's no way. Protein bars always taste like chalk. They finally figured it out. How to give you adequate protein, but make it taste good at the same time. You can pick from so many different flavors. My favorite is cookies and cream, but you could choose whichever one you prefer. Don't forget, guys, the link will be down in the description box below. Put the promo code FLEDGE10 so that you can get 10% off your entire order. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. Okay, so this first thing for intermittent fasting beginners is going to be something that it's almost like I'm backing away from what I said before, only because the research has shown that whatever makes you feel the most comfortable is the best route to take. So which intermittent fasting protocol to pick? And it was always the more common consensus to say, hey, pick the 16-8, because the 16-8 is where you can get a good amount of fasting time while being in a kind of beginner stage in terms of having 8 hours to eat. But so many people have started right off the bat with 1 meal a day, or so many people have started right off the bat with warrior diet, 4 hours of eating, 20 hours of fasting. And so many people have started with the 16-8, but really it's whatever is comfortable for you. If it fits within whatever lifestyle you have, or if it's something that you want to target and you want to hit, then go for it. All you gotta do is make sure that you feel comfortable doing it. If there's hesitance there, if you feel that you don't know but you still wanna try, then the 16-8 is good. If there's a lot of optimism and you want to jump right into it and you're like, you know what, I wanna try the warrior diet, then the warrior diet can be good for you as well. When I first started, this is anecdotal, this is just my story, but I do wanna share. When I first started, I jumped right into the warrior diet. Over time, I've modified it. I've even coined the phrase the war mad diet, where you kind of fuse the warrior diet and 1 meal a day. And all it is that you have 4 hours to eat your 1 meal. But if you ever decide to do the warrior the next day, you are within that 4-hour eating range from the previous day, because it's the same 4 hours that you use for both the warrior and the 1 meal a day. So it gives me flexibility where some days I can do the warrior, some days I can do 1 meal a day, but I know that I'm always within that 4-hour window every day. But that came from me just creating something out of me doing what's comfortable for me, what works for me, what I like to do and what I enjoy and what I know I can do for the long term. And that's the most important thing, comfort. Start however you like, whatever's going to be the most motivating for you to keep going. The other thing is, don't be scared to try it. Seriously, 100%, don't be scared to try it. Stop listening to whatever media thing that's trying to scare you in terms of fasting, whatever anyone is trying to tell you in terms of fear for fasting. Stop. Don't be so scared of it. Obviously, of course, if you have certain symptoms, you have to consult a doctor for any change in diet. Don't let them fear-monger you with fasting. Because here's the thing, studies have shown that fasting is no more dangerous or unhealthy or creates any more adverse effects than simple caloric restriction. And if you are going on a diet to reduce weight, you have to reduce calories as well. So no matter what, if you're trying to lose weight, you're going to have to use some type of protocol to do it. And intermittent fasting has not been found to be unhealthy in respects to all of the other diets that you can choose from. Now, we're not talking about fasting as a whole. We're talking about intermittent fasting, which means intraday fasting. So just those 20 hours of fasting or 16 hours of fasting or 1 meal a day, those kind of fasting systems. Don't be scared to try it. And I know it's super scary because it's not even about the health for so many people. A lot of people are just scared that they're going to feel hungry and they won't be successful. But believe me, after about 2 weeks and a half, your body will start to become comfortable with this rhythm, and it will start to trigger hunger during the times when your eating windows are opening, and it will stop the hunger during the times when your eating window closes. It's like a magical thing. The reason your body is hungry for breakfast, lunch, and dinner is not because it normally gets hungry during that time on default. It's because you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner because we've been prescribed to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Trust me, you'll see the difference and you'll be amazed at how you're not hungry during the times where you usually used to be hungry. Number 3, this might bother some people because they'll say, well, what's the point? But there are inherent benefits to intermittent fasting. However, you still have to pay attention to your calories, or at least be aware of how much you're eating. Try not to overeat simply because you're fasting and thinking that because you're fasting, it will compensate for the fact that you are overeating. It will not. I'm here to tell you, it can help partition body fat. It can help with the calorie partitioning, which means pulling more body fat as opposed to other sources of energy. But it still requires that you are at a caloric deficit or a net negative energy balance, which means at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month, your overall calorie plus minus is minus so that your body reduces in weight. You have to give your body the ability to burn fat when it's all said and done, and it won't do that if you're giving it the additional energy that it needs from just the calories that you are consuming. You have to make sure that you're either burning calories as much as you can to be at a caloric deficit or eat less to be at a caloric deficit. But calories still matter. The next thing that we want to talk about is your goals. What are your goals? Because if your goals are, for example, to build muscle, then intermittent fasting is not the best tool. It's absolutely not, because of protein synthesis. But protein synthesis requires things like meal frequency, upping your meal frequency. So if you want to build muscle, I would recommend not doing intermittent fasting until you get to the stage where you're burning body fat instead of building muscle, where you've built the muscle that you kind of want to build for that time frame, and now you want to start burning body fat. And I say this because the research has shown that it is not optimal to use intermittent fasting in any form, even the 16-8 for muscle building. Now, muscle retention, 16-8, which means 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating, can help you. And if your goal is to lose some body fat, but retain the muscle that you just worked hard on, then you can definitely do that, but apply something like 16-8 so you can elevate protein synthesis and consume protein in a more spread out way. Instead of having to consume it all in one shot, it'll actually be much more effective if you spread it out so that your body can absorb it efficiently. And finally, bouncing off of what I just said, Exercise is incredibly important to maintain muscle. You have to tell your body that I need these muscle fibers. If not, it will burn through them. And studies have shown that if the person reduces their physical activity and resistance training, then compared to other groups who are not doing intermittent fasting but are at the same caloric deficit, they will lose more lean mass. And the lean mass comes from the muscle itself. So you have to be very aware of that. You can't reduce your physical training. You have to make sure that you're consistently still doing resistance training to protect your muscle, as well as getting at least 0.7 grams per pound of lean mass, total lean mass, and protein to give your muscles the adequate amino acids so that it can hold on to the muscles that you've built while you lose weight doing intermittent fasting. I think one of the best ways to pull this off is definitely the 16-8, because as I mentioned before, you can spread them out and it's absorbed much more efficiently. Patreons will be pinned down at the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.